Thank you for tuning in to Entertain the Geeky, your source for nerd news.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Jason back at you with more nerd news. Big week this week. For some things more than others. We got news that Captain Marvel has begun its production this week. And as exciting as that is, it's going to be great to see Carol finally brought to the screen. We get to see Jude Law. Hopefully, a rumor is that he's playing Mar-Vell. But the announcement of this, of the beginning of this production, has brought to light some characters that are being revived from the past of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So if you haven't been paying attention and you don't realize, this movie is going to take place in the 1990s. So it's going to be a kind of a prequel of sorts, although I guess Captain America is the original prequel, but Captain Marvel will be a prequel to all this kind of modern day Avengers stuff that's been going on. And they're bringing back Nick Fury, and we should see kind of a different Shield will still be a part of the world because it hasn't fallen yet, so we'll probably see a different version of them as well. But a couple of names that popped up that really are interesting if you're a fan and you've been following these things. Ronan the Accuser will make his return in Captain Marvel, played once again by Lee Pace. Ronan first made his appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy, and there were some fans, myself included, who were kind of disappointed to see him used up so quickly, and kind of he fell. He was defeated and died at the end of the first Guardians movie, and I think Lee Pace did a good job with the character of Ronan the Accuser, and I was a little disappointed that we weren't going to get to see him back. But here we are, years and years later, and Captain Marvel is going to bring back Ronan the Accuser. Joining Ronan the Accuser was his right-hand man in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Korath, played once again by Djimon Hounsou. Kind of just, bringing back a little kind of team-up or a little duo that we had from the original movie, or the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and obviously we won't have, Gamora and Nebula as a part of it. It will just be Ronan and his right-hand man, as it were, Korath. So it'll be interesting to see how their role plays into it. We know the Kree, as a species, play into Captain Marvel's origin story, at least in the comics, and it is assumed that it will play into this origin story as well, with Mar-Vell also being part of it. It's pretty likely that the Kree are going to have a pretty large part of this movie. We know the Skrulls will, definitely, so we could see kind of maybe some kind of Kree-Skrull conflict, that's hard to say, at the heart of this movie's story. Back on Earth, though, an earthly character that is rejoining the movie world is Agent Phil Coulson. So it is safe to say that Agent Coulson is the glue that holds all this together, because he definitely was the glue that held Phase 1 together and kind of helped bring the Avengers together with the tragedy of his death. He was brought back with alien technology for the television show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he's been doing that for the last 5 seasons. And it had a hard time finding its footing, but it came around, and the recent stuff has been fantastic. But it'll be cool to see Clark Gregg get a role in a movie again. Obviously, like I said, S.H.I.E.L.D's going to be a bigger part of it, because at this point they were still the global peacekeeping kind of intelligence gathering organization in the world. So it'll be interesting to see a little past for S.H.I.E.L.D. as well, and get Coulson back within the movie world. Over on the Star Wars side of the Disney train, the Star Wars, or the solo Star Wars story movie that is coming out later this year, we may have just gotten a little information on the villains. Now, this all comes from the back of a toy for this character, so take this all with a little bit of a grain of salt. But it is reusing some ideas from the expanded universe, and we have seen, after Disney kind of wiped the slate clean, we have seen them kind of pull back in elements that really worked well in the expanded universe. Star Wars Rebels brought back Grand Admiral Thrawn, which was really awesome to see. He's a great character. I honestly hope one day he makes it into a movie. But this one's a little bit of a very specific type of character that's being brought back, and it requires you to have a very vast knowledge of Star Wars and its canon, because this is going all the way back to 1970s Marvel Star Wars comic. And the toy has shown us that this villain character's name is Enfys Nest, and he is the leader of what they're calling the Cloud Rider Gang. And if you know your Star Wars history and you remember those old Marvel Star Wars comics, this was a plot. These were characters that popped up in an issue of that. They were terrorizing villagers in a village called Nakra, and they brought in the aid of Han Solo and Chewbacca to kind of drive the biker gang, or the Cloud Rider Gang out, as it were. So really interesting that, kind of like I said, we're seeing them kind of pick and choose pieces of the old universe, the old expanded universe that they want to use. And this comes as a bit of a surprise. This is a pretty obscure reference to Star Wars comics. So, whether you're familiar with them, whether you're not, should make for an interesting movie. I'm actually quite looking forward to Solo, A Star Wars Story, because we got word this week that the reshoots and things that happened under Ron Howard really didn't change much of what Phil Lord and Chris Miller's original ideas and original scripting for the story was. They will be getting a credit within the credits. I think a producing credit is what was said. But so it looks like we were all kind of worried for nothing. I really don't think this is going to be the movie where Disney falters with their Star Wars license. I'm really kind of looking forward to this. Ron Howard is a great filmmaker. The cast looks amazing. So we'll see. I'm going to be keeping my fingers crossed on that one, because I love Han Solo. I loved what Harrison Ford brought to the character. I'm interested to see what Alden Ehrenreich brings to the character. So this next piece of information may have been something that everybody kind of saw coming, but it wasn't really official until we heard it from the man himself. So Chris Evans was being interviewed this week and talked about how this forthcoming Avengers film, the finale of kind of everything they've been building to since Iron Man, will be his last outing as the character. So honestly, I think that opens up a lot of theories of what the future could mean at this point, right? If Evans is 100% sure that he's done, and he's quoted as saying, "You want to get off the train before they push you off." But if what he's saying is true, and he has now realized that this really is the end for him, what that could mean is that we're building towards the death of Captain America, which is fine. I mean, we kind of all saw that coming. But the fact that it's kind of definitive at this point, Evans is done, means we can start thinking about who might pick up the shield in the aftermath. I'm inclined to think Bucky. They have done, a great deal to build Steve and Bucky's relationship over the films. Not only the Captain America films, but the forthcoming Avengers films as well will continue to build that relationship. And I think Bucky will be there in that moment and pick up the shield and vow to carry on in Cap's name. So what that means is we could have a brand new Captain America movies to look forward to, with Bucky, carrying the legacy. And I know some people have speculated that we might see Falcon take on that role, which he did recently in the comic world. But I think, the kind of sandbox that they've created here, the relationships that they've built, I really do think they're going to follow suit with the comics on this one and have Bucky be the first to kind of vow to carry on Cap's legacy. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. We definitely now know that Chris Evans is done. Avengers 4 will be his last outing as the character. So let your speculation grow as to who will replace him, whether or not he actually will be replaced, or what's going to go on there. So switching things up a little bit, moving over to the comic world. Wondercon was going on this past week, and some new series from the World of Justice League were revealed. So we reported, a few weeks ago on the fact that Scott Snyder was going to be working on a new Justice League project with Jim Chung. which is huge. I mean, Jim Cheung's a fantastic artist. I'm really looking forward to what he's going to be doing with it. So we didn't get much more news about that story, other than the fact that Snyder intends to bring back the Hall of Justice as the headquarters of the Justice League, as opposed to the Watchtower satellite that's become a pretty mainstay of DC Comics since the Justice League cartoons and the comics kind of introduced us to this satellite that they all hang out on that protects Earth. But the Hall of Justice is a very old, idea from a different age of DC Comics, and Snyder has said that it's not going to be like the Hall of Justice that you've seen in the comics or in the cartoons, where it's kind of just a front for the Watchtower. It's a tourist attraction where people can come and kind of get a look inside, but it's really just a front, and there are portals in the back that take you up to space. Apparently that's not going to be the case. Snyder has said this Hall of Justice will be the headquarters of the Justice League. So the question then remains, are we going to see the big round table with the chairs with all their logos on it? Who knows? But interesting kind of relic to bring back from the past and now use in a more real capacity within the comic world. Like I said, not just as a front for the Watchtower. So it'll be interesting. I'm really looking forward to Snyder's Justice League story, because I've really dug everything he's done with Batman, and I can't wait to see him take on some of the more iconic characters in his style. But there are two new series that were announced that will kind of go with this Justice League relaunch in the aftermath of Dark Knight's Metal and Justice League No Justice, which is going on. Dark Knight's Metal finishes up this week, and No Justice starts next month. So the two series, the first one they are bringing back, Justice League Dark. And whether or not you thought that series worked in the New 52 world, it's definitely an intriguing idea. So they're bringing back Justice League Dark. James Tynion is going to be writing it. He's most recently been working on Detective Comics. And Alvaro Martinez will be drawing the book. So the team up really kind of maintains the big ones. So Zatanna will be on the team, Constantine, Swamp Thing, but new added characters that have never been a part of a Dark team up before. The Man-Bat, which is typically a villain in the Batman lore, but things have changed in the world in the aftermath of, like I said, No Justice and Dark Knight's Metal. So Man-Bat's going to be a part of it. A character that was kind of is conflicted, right? I mean, he was trying to do something noble, and it led to this terrible tragedy, and his wife got killed as a result of it. He's a tragic character. How he fits in with the magic thing, I'm not really 100% sure yet. And then another character that was just recently reintroduced to us, thanks to Scott Snyder and his Dark Knight's Metal series, is Detective Chimp. Who's an old one, but he's definitely been a part of the DC universe longer than I've been alive. He's just a little intelligent, sentient chimpanzee, and he dresses like Sherlock Holmes, and he helps solve mysteries. And then, as weird as Detective Chimp is, the biggest weird thing about this Dark book is it's going to be led by Wonder Woman. So that's just an interesting, twist on this story that we typically have Zatanna and or Constantine leading the team, as they know the most about magic. So these new teammates are kind of confusing to me. It doesn't really give much away about what the plot of this might be. But we'll see. I mean, I'm intrigued. I definitely was a reader of Justice League Dark during the New 52. Thought it was an interesting book. Recently watched the Justice League Dark movie. Thought it was very fun. So who knows? This could be a better take on the magic side of the DC universe. And the third title that was unveiled is going to be called Justice League Odyssey. And so this one is going to be a more spacefaring story, as evident by its lineup, which includes Cyborg, Starfire, Jessica Cruz's Green Lantern, and then a weird one, Azrael, who's another Batman character that's going to be popping up in a Justice League book. Which Azrael, who it will be, what the point of Azrael heading out into space with these characters will be, is yet to be seen. But he seems to be kind of maybe taking on the Batman role here on this team. And then, again, just like Wonder Woman on Dark, a very weird turn. Darkseid is going to be a regular in the Justice League Odyssey book. And the way it was described is he's kind of going to be like a Hannibal Lecter type character where the team is asking him advice on these galactic problems, or, who knows? I mean, the details really are still scarce. But two interesting books, Justice League Dark and Odyssey. Odyssey is going to be written by Joshua Williamson, who's been recently doing Flash, and Stefan Sejic doing art, who is fantastic, and honestly can't wait to see his take. He recently did the Titans issues, or the covers of the Gotham Resistance storyline from Dark Knight's Metal, and I believe he drew all of the Titans issue, and it was fantastic. So switching over to Marvel Comics, Mighty Thor 705 dropped, and it seems that we have finally gotten to that point where, and so I'm gonna go into a little bit of a spoiler thing here. If you haven't read yet, get out of here now, come back later. But Mighty Thor number 705, while not the conclusion of this current arc, is definitely showing us the end of Jane Foster. At the end of 704, she picked up the hammer one more time, knowing that this would be her end. She makes that sacrifice, and in the issue, she goes out with as a hero, fighting the Mangog, defending Asgardia, and ultimately, she is not the only thing that gets taken away from us by this issue of Mighty Thor. She also ends up hurling Mjolnir into the sun, where it is presumably destroyed. So interesting, kind of an interesting turn of events as we get to the end of Jane Foster's life. We also bring a close to Mjolnir as Thor's weapon. So what that means, whether he will get a new hammer, whether he will continue on using the axe that he's been using for a while now, is yet to be seen. But definitely was kind of a very heartfelt ending between the Odin son and Jane. We've still got a few issues left on this final arc here for Jason Aaron. I really don't know how you top this issue, though. It was powerful. It was emotional. It was devastating. It really just changes everything about Thor going forward. And we know that we are getting kind of a relaunched Thor series to go with our Marvel Fresh Start. So what that means is anybody's guess at this point. This Jason Aaron has definitely left his mark on Thor, going all the way back to when he started with Thor, God of Thunder, and coming all the way full circle here to Mighty Thor and the end of Jane Foster. It's been a great ride. If you're a fan of Thor, if you ever wanted to get into Thor, Jason Aaron's Thor is a great place to start. And just go. He starts with Thor, God of Thunder, which then goes into Thor with Jane, and then there was another relaunch, and then it goes back into Mighty Thor, and that's where it stayed. But it was fantastic, really just a fun ride. I'm interested to see how he brings it all kind of to a conclusion before the rise of the next Thor story. So switching over to the video game side of things, pretty dead week for video game news. Some interesting releases coming up. And as always, Overwatch and Sea of Thieves and PUBG, they're all over the news. But I stumbled upon a thing that really just harkens me back to something that I thought was going to be really amazing, and unfortunately didn't get to be the amazing thing that I thought it would be. Visceral Games, which is no more, and the Star Wars licenses have all been returned to EA. Was at one point developing an open-world Star Wars game that seemed as if it was going to be more, less on Jedi and Sith and more focused on the criminal elements and the underworld, the bowels of Coruscant, where the crime and the criminals make their home. And it looked very interesting. It had a lot of promise. It seemed like something that, as Star Wars fans, we were going to, really, really get to sink our teeth into, and, would bring us back to some of the great Star Wars RPGs like Knights of the Old Republic. But it seems as though EA might be reviving this idea and working on an open-world Star Wars game. That is, if a hiring listing is to be believed from their website, looking for a team leader to work on the online component of an open world Star Wars game. Now, whether or not that means this open world Star Wars game will have some kind of single player experience that I can get into, or whether it will be entirely online, similar to like Old Republic, is yet to be seen. I'm kind of hoping for the latter, hoping for the former, because I really, while I think the online thing is really cool, I definitely miss the idea of being able to play a big single player open world game, and just sit on my couch and enjoy it myself. Having the online thing is cool, and it opens up new worlds for gameplay and teaming up with other players, and that's fun. But there's something about just a good story-driven Star Wars game that we just haven't really had in a long time. And we've had the Battlefront games, which, love them or hate them, they're really not. They really are just shooter games. I mean, that's the reality that we're living in. We haven't gotten a good story-driven Star Wars video game in a long time. And again, fingers crossed. Here's hoping that EA can leave the kind of negative press that Star Wars Battlefront 2 has brought them, and maybe bring us something fresh that makes us believe in their company again, believe in their company's ability to give us quality Star Wars products. So a couple of quick things here at the end from the TV side of the news world. Cloak and Dagger Freeform showed off a new trailer for Cloak and Dagger. And say what you will, the Marvel properties on TV have had success. I mean, we obviously have the success of the Netflix stuff. Hulu did The Runaways, which I have not got a chance to see yet, but I've heard is just very, very good if you're a fan of The Runaways as a comic. And honestly, I don't think that Cloak and Dagger looks that bad. It's definitely lacking a little bit in the special effects department, as most TV projects do. But I looking at the trailer, I definitely think that it's worth getting into. It's worth investing in. Their story is just very tragically kind of Romeo and Juliet. Their powers are so, opposite of one another, and for some reason this draws them closer together. And it looks like the TV show is going to have that kind of, teen drama thing, and I guess if that's your thing, that's your thing. But, Cloak and Dagger in the comic has always, presented itself as more of an adult style of a story, the source material, and, yes, they are teenagers, but they are written in such an adult way that it definitely appeals to a wider audience, and I'm hoping that the show can do the same. Apparently, something that happened at Wondercon this week was the audience in participation for the Marvel television panel got to see the premiere of Cloak and Dagger. And the reviews are mixed. I mean, some people are saying, yeah, it was really fun, I really enjoyed it, I'm excited to see where the story goes. And some people are saying it's really not for them, and it just seems a little kind of too angsty and too teen drama. And I guess, we're going to have to reserve our judgment until we get to see the finished product, which is not going to be too much longer. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it does the comic justice. So Nickelodeon has had the TMNT license for a while now, and they've done different things with it. They did their little CG animated show. They've done, some movies and different things, little kind of animated movies. And it's fun, as the TMNT always, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles always are. They definitely have, a youthful spirit about them that draws an audience, whether young or old. But I'm really kind of confused by what's happening now. Nickelodeon unveiled the first trailer footage for a new story, a new television show, animated television show called Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I gotta be honest, I really don't understand what's going on. It seems like they're just trying to revamp the Turtles entirely. Yes, they are brothers, but they're all different species of turtle. So Raphael is a big snapping turtle, so he's like a giant compared to the rest of them. Michelangelo is a box turtle. They switched up their weapons. April is a supernatural investigator. The villain's not going to be Shredder. I just really don't know what's happening, and I'm honestly a little confused by the whole thing and a little afraid of the destruction of the once great TMNT license. But I guess maybe they're trying to appeal to a new audience, maybe a younger audience that might not be as familiar with the Turtles. But who knows? I mean, in all reality, I guess I have to admit that cartoons aren't made for adults. But as an adult, there are several cartoons that I quite enjoy. And the kind of CG animated TMNT show that's been going on has been fun. I mean, it's definitely geared more towards children, but it's got laughs and it's got good action and some good storytelling. But I don't know what this is going to be. Rise of the TMNT has me a little confused and a bit afraid of what this outcome will bring and how long this show will actually last. But who knows? Kids might love it. It might be huge, successful. Everyone has a great time with it. I'm just a little weirded out the same way I was when I saw, how Michael Bay was treating the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's, I guess change is scary, but that doesn't necessarily mean change is bad. So reserve my judgment, and hopefully this new take will still retain the kind of story and structure beats that the TMNT kind of built their story on. We'll see. But that's going to bring us to the end, guys. So do me a favor, if you're digging what we're putting down here, go on over to entertainthegeeky.com. So we've got the blogs there, we've got the nerd news kind of blurbs with the quick information, whether it be trailers or video game announcements or whatever, trying to keep you up to date. If Facebook is your speed and you dig looking at your stuff through a Facebook feed, we are on Facebook as well at facebook.com/entertainmentgeeky. So give us a like there, turn on those notifications, and you'll start to see our stuff pop up in your feed. We're also on Twitter at entertaingeeky. Keep your eyes open in the future. We're going to have a Kickstarter for Conniving Cooks. Really, really fun game that the guys over at EG Games have designed. Can't wait to bring it to you. To bring it to you and show you what it's about and what we think, and we'll talk about it. We'll play it. We'll try it out. If you're local and you're listening to us, keep your eyes on the miniature market out in Maplewood. In the future, we are going to start running EG Games events there. We'll do some learn to plays. We might even demo Conniving Cooks. Once we get some copies printed up, we'll try it out on a test audience and see what everybody thinks. But that's going to bring us to the end. Do me a favor, guys. Stay geeky.